Been talking about solving equations, so today we're going to elaborate on that, and we're going to do as many possible steps. These are super complex equations. So for this foldable, we have two lines here. We're just going to fold it completely in half, which is along this middle line. And when we go to put it in our journal, we'll need to trim across the top here and across the bottom. And if you wanted, you could also, these are kind of dotted lines, you can cut along those if you would like. We can do that at the end. So we're going to start with fractions. What if we have a fraction in our equation? Now, none of us really like fractions. Some of us are straight up fraction fraidy cats. So it tells us what to do. So if there is only one fraction in our equation, we can multiply all of the terms. Okay, terms are going to be the pieces of the equation on both sides by the reciprocal of the fraction. So remember, your reciprocal is a flip, right? Your numerator becomes your denominator, denominator becomes the numerator. If we have multiple fractions like we do here, we're going to multiply all of our terms by our least common multiple of denominators. So essentially, just think about what is your common denominator. Okay, that's what this is asking you to do. So if I zoom in here, you'll notice that we do in fact have two fractions. They do have different denominators. So if these were both and had denominators of 5, we could multiply the pieces by 5, but they don't. So we need a common denominator. Common denominator, or least common multiple of 5 and 2 is 10. So I'm going to multiply this equation by 10, or 10 over 1. Now here's the thing. If it's in parentheses, you're going to leave it. So we're not going to worry about these two pieces. We're going to multiply here. We're going to multiply with the 2x. We're going to multiply the 1/2. We're going to skip the 2x plus 8, and we're going to go to the minus 2. Okay, those things in parentheses are going to stay there. We'll do something with those in a minute. So if I come over here and I say 10 over 1 times 2 over 5, I can cross reduce, or if you're not comfortable with that, top times top, bottom times bottom. So 10 times 2 is 20, 1 times 5 is 5, so this becomes 4. And then I still have my x minus 2 plus 10 times 2x is 20x equals 10 times 1/2, well, half of 10 is 5, leave the parentheses, and 10 times a negative 2 is a negative 20. And you will notice that the equation that we just wrote matches this next level. Okay, so remember, we're not going to mess with anything in the parentheses when we're getting rid of a fraction. All right? So the next step is to get rid of those parentheses. That's your distributive property. Remember, your distributive property says that if you have a number outside of a parentheses, you're going to distribute or multiply it by everything inside. So like we just did with the fractions, but we're looking at the things with the parentheses this time. So I'm going to come over here. So I'm going to say 4 times x is 4x. 4, remember, this is a negative 2. The sign in front of the number goes with it. 4 times a negative 2 is a negative 8. There's no parentheses with this 20x, so we're just going to bring it down. Equals 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times a positive 8 is a positive 40. Bring down our negative 20. And again, you'll notice that it matches here. So this is traditionally this distributing. On my board, I have a poster. This is typically my first step because we don't encounter the fractions all that often. And my second step is this collecting of like terms. Now, we talked about that in a couple of classes ago. Like terms mean on the same side of the equals. Okay? So when I look over here, I see that I have x's on this left-hand side, I can put my x's with my x's. Here I have an x, but it's on the other side, so I'm not worrying about putting it over here. But I do have two regular numbers, or constants as we call them, on the right-hand side. So I can put 4x plus 20x is 24x. I don't have anything for this constant, so I'm just going to bring that down. I don't have anything on the right-hand side to put 10x with, so I'm going to bring it down. But 40 minus 20 is, in fact, 20. Okay. Now, again, we did a foldable the other day talking about the difference of like terms that are on the same side of the equals versus variable on different sides. So this is where we're going to have to undo the variable from one side, meaning add or subtract. So we're going to cross this equals. So we're going to have to undo. All right. So, and remember, try to move the smallest. You can't always move the smallest, but if you can, that's the one you need to try to move. Okay. So I have 24x on the left and I have 10x on the right. 10 is obviously smaller than 24 and it is a positive. So my inverse of a positive 10x is a negative 10x. Show that on both sides. So I have 14x, bring down my constant, minus 8. Don't forget that sign in front of it, equals 20, and now it looks like what you did in 6th and 7th grade. Undo the constant on the same side as the variable. So this number that is with the variable that doesn't have the variable on it, we're going to undo, right? Or inverse, add, subtract. So the inverse of a minus 8 is to add 8. Because we want that to zero out. Remember, our goal is to get that variable alone and positive. And then undo our coefficient. So that is our inverse, multiply, divide. So over here, we're multiplying by 14. So we're going to divide by 14. This becomes a 1. Remember, you can write the 1 in front of your variable, but you don't have to. 28 divided by 14 is 2. Okay, but we're not done. We think we're done, but we're not. We always, always, always want to check our solution. Okay, and that requires you to plug in. All right, and we want to get equal on both sides. So, again, in class, we'll have a calculator, so you can do that. Plug it in where you see the variable. So 2/5, this becomes 2 minus 2, 2 times 2, 1/2, 2 times 2. Make sure that looks like a dot and not a decimal. Plus 8 minus 2. Well, I can do a lot of this in my head, but if you would like to try it on the calculator, there's a really bad glare from my light. Let me try this. Oh, my light went off. Hold on. All right, that looks better. So we can put this in. So remember, control divide will give you a fraction. Parentheses 2 minus 2, close parentheses, plus 2 times 2 equals, control divide gives you your fraction, parentheses 2 times 2 plus 8, close parentheses, minus 2. Now if we did this right, we'll get a true statement. And we did. So yay. So you will want to put this in your journal. You'll want to add to your table of contents if you're in my class. And we will see you next class. Have a great day.